Good evening, everyone. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I was having a little bit of tech problems, so I hope that you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can in the chat. I want to welcome you into our weekly book reading session. If you're new here, I'm Mia James. I am your financial wellness coach, and I'm so excited to be here tonight as usual. We are now on commandment number 7 in our book, 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And today's commandment is called Capital Must Be Preserved, Protected, and Efficiently Used. One of my favorite topics. Hey, Natasha. Hey, Jen. Awesome. I'm glad I'm coming through because I was doing a lot of glitching trying to get on over here. So, just a reminder, we're about to wrap up our book soon because it's 10 Commandments. We're on Commandment 7 today. And we are going to be having a giveaway at the end of reading our book. So I'm going to be using these flashcards, which are the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow flashcards on the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And so make sure you're reading the book because I'm going to be asking questions from this flashcard deck, and I will have prizes for our winners. Okay, so make sure you are retaining all your good knowledge from the book. If there's anyone who you think should be here, then definitely invite them in. We love to have more people in our community every week. And if you want to join the chat, I live in the chat. All you have to do is log on either on your computer, go onto YouTube and watch under the live section, or the app on your phone. That way you can be in the comments. Okay, so welcome in, welcome in. The other thing is that our next book is going to be my book, which is Think, Learn, and Feel Rich. And I'm going to be breaking down the chapters. So it'll be, we'll do Q&A and we'll have a good time. So just to give y'all a heads up of what's to come soon. Hello, Chelsea, you made it. Hooray. I love it. I love it. Excellent. So if you all are wondering who is the milestone guru, that's my girl, Chelsea. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank y'all for being here tonight. It always makes my Wednesday. Oh, thank you, Natasha. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, y'all. So chapter 7 is a little bit long. So we are going to try to cover between pages 129 and 145. Okay. So if there's any particular part of that you want me to cover, then let me know in the chat too, because there is a lot of good information in here, and I'm happy to bring that topic up to us so we can, cover it. So let's start here on page 129. And he starts talking about capital. And, he talks about what capital is, which is any resource at our disposal that allows us to get the things we need. So basically cash, right? Anything that's liquid that we can use to give away, spend, borrow, etc., invest. But then he also introduces this concept of human capital. And I learned about this because I have a degree in economics, but I don't think that this is something that we necessarily discuss in our day-to-day lives. Like our time, exchanging time for money, we are human capital, right? And all of our gifts, talents, abilities, we exchange time for money, right? That's the labor piece. And he was like, we're trained to give this to big corporations. Now, I want to know in the chat, were any of you here trained to be an entrepreneur? Let me know in the chat. I'm just curious. Oh, that's awesome, Natasha. And I was not there this morning. That is so crazy. I actually had a fun speaking engagement. I actually went on this walk with a group of seniors. And hey, Nana, excellent. Thank you for coming. Welcome. There's my sword, Nana. Awesome. So this morning I was actually on a special walk with some seniors, and I was talking about retirement planning and long-term care. So that's what I was doing this morning while I missed Dr. Boyce. Hey, Doriel. Exactly. We were trained to work until retirement. Happy first week of school. And see, let me tell you how I was raised. I had a unique upbringing. I had a dad that always had a business. And then I had a mom that always had a job. So my dad always said, you got to have a job in the hustle. That's how I was raised. So my first kind of like job was selling Avon with my mother, right? I took the orders, I put the orders in, I bagged the orders, and my mom just delivered it, and she would give the books out to her friends to buy stuff. So that is how I was raised. I started also collected cans and recycled. Like I always, my dad was always showing me ways how to make money. So for me, making money is not like a like this. Like how do I do it? Yeah, girl, Jen, I got to keep all the money. Girl, yes, indeed. That's why I was like, when people be like they broke, I'm like, how? I'm like, I was not raised. I don't even understand that. My dad, he was like, you got to know how to make money, and that's one thing I appreciate about my dad. He always taught us how to create money. Let's just put it like that, right? Because as we know, back in earlier this year, a lot of Black women lost their jobs, over 300,000 Black women, because of DEI cuts. Hey, Marilyn, welcome in, welcome in. I mean, Denise, I know that. Yes, welcome in, Denise. Exactly, Jen. Thank God. Oh, that's awesome, Natasha. So Natasha said she was an entrepreneur and she was selling stick candies. I was selling candy too, Natasha. Now you talk about a hustle. I was like the ultimate hustle. So let's keep on going. So he talked about hours of labor, and he talked about how we're trained to give our labor to big corporations. But what we also want to know is that capital can be our knowledge, our reputation, trust funds, real estate, stocks, and even our children. So he talks about how back in the day that farmers had a lot of kids so they can help till the land. And so, I have a testimony because, he said our capital is our knowledge. I was talking to my prayer partner this morning. I told her how to teach an AI class, and guess what? She recommended me to somebody, and I just got my first AI speaking engagement. So everything that we know, if we have some level of mastery at it, that is an asset and a skill that we have that we can go out and bring and create capital for our families. Thank you, Jen. Look at us, candy sellers in high school. I love it. I started selling in junior high, y'all, but I got suspended twice. So after the first time, my dad was like, congratulations on starting the business. But the second time I got suspended, he was like, okay, you got to stop the operation. So like, I mean, I was just exercising what he taught me. Oh, thank you, Natasha. So I'm super excited because I literally spoke it out. I wrote it out on Monday. I let go of something that was blocking me today. And by the end of the day, I had my first speaking engagement. Oh, look, Chelsea was selling candy in 5th grade. Dang, Chelsea, you beat me to it. I don't think I started making money till around junior 6th grade. You go, Chelsea. That's what's up. Exactly. Y'all had a private bus. That's so great. I love that. And so what he talked about in here, let's go to page 130. He says, after you protect the capital, you must grow it. So when y'all think about protecting your capital, what comes to mind for you? I want to know in the chat. When you think about protecting your capital, what does that look like for y'all? So Dorielle says she was selling M&Ms in high school so she could go on a school trip. Yeah, I remember Future Black Leaders of America. That's awesome. Exactly. This is actually those candy sales and things and raising money. Those are actually good skills to teach young people because that way they always know how to create money. And if they can apply that to other things, like knowing how to sell is a great skill. I remember I was just talking to my something that I really liked. I wasn't trying to sell her anything, but I was telling her about something and the features and the benefits and all this. She was like, girl, you could sell anything. She was like, you totally got me convinced. So, but I've been doing it my whole life, right? Not because I'm trying to sell somebody something, but I've always been taught to highlight why this might be a benefit to someone else. Jen, okay, so let's look at the chat here. So Natasha says her way of protecting the capital is having a trust. Absolutely. And if you're not familiar with that, A trust, well, we're going to talk about that towards the end. That is a super important way for us to not only protect our wealth, but also to pass it down, to save against taxes, and to keep our families out of probate court. Because guess what, y'all? If you are trying to pass on assets and you do not pass it through a trust, even if you have a will, it has to go to probate court. And guess what happens when you go to court? Attorneys are involved, and guess what? Attorneys cost money. So we have to stop relying on wills alone and saying that we're done with our estate planning, because every wealthy person knows, if you look at Rockefeller Wealth, which some of us did yesterday, wealthy people understand in order to actually keep the wealth and not have to spend it on attorneys, you have to have a trust in place. First of all, Jen, we can talk about this all night long. Yes, stop loaning money to people who are not actually going to return it or actually use it in a fruitful way. Okay, I'm gonna leave that right there. Okay. Let's see. The real dad. That's so funny. We're gonna pray for cousin Pookie. That's what we're gonna do. Let's see. Did anybody just pay me, Pookie? Oh my gosh, this chat is hilarious. I feel bad for those of y'all who are not in this chat. Listen, if you want to get in the chat, all I have to tell you is get on the app on your phone or get on your computer. This chat is very lively. I'm not putting it all on the screen, but it is, cousin Pookie is, they get in there. Okay, so let's get back to it. So Natasha gave us one way to protect our wealth. Towards the end, I'll talk about some other ways. But after you protect your wealth, you also want to grow it, right? You want to protect it, you want to grow it, and having a trust with insurance inside of the trust as beneficiary can basically help to continually perpetuate and grow your money. And if you have questions about that, y'all can get with me individually, because that's what I do. I help people create those, set up insurance and create trust. And then he talks about, this is the bottom of page 30. He says the efficient use of capital basically says that capital should be put in places where it is expected to grow or produce some kind of yield. Y'all know people still have money under their mattresses and stuff like that. Now, yes, you should have some money in the house just in case of an emergency, because if there's an outage, you need to have some money where, if you can't get to an ATM or whatever. But having your money in the safe, you're not making any money. Actually, you're using money, and your money is doing something called losing purchasing power. You know why it's losing purchasing power? Because there's this thing called inflation. So if your money ain't making money, it's actually losing money. Because, okay, so y'all remember, let's talk about it. Hope we can swim. Y'all, this chat is kicks, okay? I did not know this was gonna come out the book, but it's for real, for real. Yes, you absolutely must have some cash on hand. And everything else needs to be working for you. Absolutely, absolutely. Oh no, Natasha, we're not gonna put it in the back of Big Mama's. No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. But if you don't have a high yield savings account, please get a high yield savings account. At least make some money off of it. At least make 4%, 3.8%, whatever it may be. Please get a high yield savings account. The money is safe. It's FDIC insured up to $250K. But you do not want to have 200 grand sitting up in your house not working for you. Because, okay, so back to my story. My story was, remember back in the day, well, let me go back to the 80s, okay? Back in the day, I was able to, remember when you could buy a candy bar for like $1? Y'all remember that? Everybody has their little special places for the money. I was able, y'all remember when we could, get a candy bar for $1? And now how much is a candy bar now? I don't know. I don't eat them anymore. But I know they're not $1 anymore. Or I remember buying Kit Kats for 50 cents. Kit Kats are not 50 cents anymore. They're like $2 and change. So that just shows that your dollar doesn't have the same power that it used to have. $2.99. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, because I don't buy anymore. Hey, Elevated You. Tell me what your name is so I know who you are. So when I see you next time, I'll know. Yes, paydays. Yes, exactly. So that's just a small example. Even with eggs, remember when we were going through that egg crisis and eggs were like a ridiculous amount. So I'm not an egg eater, but I love to make salmon cakes. Okay. And I need the egg yolk in order to make the batter to make the salmon cakes stick together. Okay. Baby, let me tell you, I questioned myself, my sister, as in Megan. Oh, girl, I didn't even know you had a YouTube. That's funny. So basically, I have to question myself on really if I really wanted to buy them eggs or not, y'all, because I was like, is this recipe really worth it? Do I really want to make that today with the price of these eggs? And I'm really only gonna use it for this one recipe. Oh, hey, Cheryl. I was like, what? I was like, that don't look like Megan. But good to see you, sis. So yes, exactly, Denise. The world's best chocolate used to be 50 cents. It's $2 now. But this is just a small example so we understand inflation and purchasing power. We have to understand that if our money is not making money, aside from your emergency fund that you have in your home, it's working backwards. It's working against you. You're actually losing money. Okay, so let's move on. So on page 131, he said that another aspect of efficiently using capital is to be able to identify various forms of non-financial capital in your possession. So guess what? We all have capital in some type of way. So our capital, like I was saying before, it could be our gifts, our talents, our crafts that we do, right? So let me know in the chat, what are some gifts, talents, and abilities that you all have that are valuable to other people, not just yourself, right? Like, of course, because I believe that God created us to use our gifts to bless other people, to bring value into this world. So, and then if you're a parent, you also want to bring out those gifts, skills, talents, and abilities to your from your children, right? And help them to grow and see what they could be good at and bring out into the world. So let us know in the chat, y'all. What are some gifts and talents that you all love to share? Okay, so Jen, she's a lover. She loves to help others. Yes, she does. So Jen, what do you do? Like, how do you help others? How do you bring that into the world? And then Nana said, y'all. Nana is an excellent designer. Top-notch, excellent designer. One day I am going to work with Nana, my personal self, okay? Because I want her to design my luxury brand. We got Natasha up in here. Natasha is a beast. Let me not use that word. That's not a feminine word. Natasha is a goddess at crypto. Okay. Divine feminine flow and all. Okay. So we all have something in us that we can bring out that not only blesses us, but is designed to bless and bring value to other people. Yeah, Nana girl. Yes. One day I'm going to have you design my whole luxury brand. Don't worry. I'm coming, girl. So let's go to page 132 because we got a long way to go. We already at 819. So the top of page 132, y'all remember that saying, things that make you go, This part. Why 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth in one generation? One generation. What? One. So imagine. I'm just like blown. He says, first, the majority of our people have embraced financial intelligence and security as a critical objective for the Black family in America and around the world. Have they? That's what he said. He said the majority of our people have embraced financial intelligence and security as a critical objective for the Black family. We? That made me go, The second thing he noticed is that there's an increased appreciation for the creation and support of Black-owned businesses. Absolutely. Look at this. So Doriel designs luxury essential oil-based self-care products, soul cleansers, and soul covers. Ooh, you better get your soul right from the inside out. I am here for it. Glory be to God. I love that. That is amazing. What? That's amazing. Um, so Natasha, if you need you a black logo, you can talk to Nana. Nana will hook you up. Nana is like, she up there, she top notch. And then yes, Jen, read those books. I actually finished like 2 books between Monday and today. Listen, just do it on Audible. Oh yeah, I can connect y'all, Natasha. So Doriel, I'll connect you with Natasha um after we get off tonight. And that way y'all can support each other. So he then says, moving down to the bottom of page 132, second to last paragraph, he says, even as we grow our wealth by making plans for asset acquisition, our kids are losing something that their parents had, an appreciation for the amount of work it takes to build something from nothing. Let's talk about it because this generation is very different. Their work ethic is very different from ours. You know, they got AI, they got all these things. And, you know, I still solve math problems old fashioned, right? I do use a calculator from time to time, but I actually know how to do it. So, like, I'll just do it. And, you know, this reminded me of I've shifted my mindset away from working hard and hustling to make money. That's how I was raised, but that was very masculine. But I have learned how to build from the creative feminine space where I am inspired to create, right? Because, like, Nana, for example, I'm sure, Nana, you get into a creative, you're inspired to create something. And I notice, like, a lot of people that are artists are inspired to create. So they don't just force and push and hustle to get the art done. It comes from a place of inspiration. And so I feel like, and maybe y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, when you're in survival mode, you don't necessarily have that brain capacity to create from a place of rest or create from a place of inspiration. So, exactly, Natasha. Yes, you cannot create if you're not inspired. But oh, I'm coming back to you in a minute, Doriel. That was a good comment too. Yes, and guess what? If we're in that constant hustle mode, and we're not in our divine feminine energy. And if there's any gentlemen on here, welcome, because this goes out to a lot of people. You know, it's really really hard to create. Sometimes I know I get stifled when I'm in that hustle and grind mode. Um, yes, I agree with you 100%, Doria. We definitely need to teach children. Dr. Boyce says that children should know how to build a business by the age of 12, and I agree with that 100%. Because that's how I was taught. So I know that is a true statement. And it doesn't take much. Literally having a kid under your wing. Like if anytime my niece or nephew pay attention and I'm telling them what I'm doing, I'm like, here you go. Okay, this is what TT is doing. This is why TT is doing it. So gosh, time is flying by quickly. So going to page 133, we're just hitting some highlights here. Third paragraph, it says, this is one of the reasons that according to Yahoo Finance, 70% of all wealthy families lose all their wealth within one generation. A full 90% lose all their wealth within 2 generations. So he was just talking about, like, basically the young people, they get this wealth, but they don't know what to do with it. Right. And so a couple of us here are reading this book about what the Rockefellers did, and it's really not difficult, y'all. It's really about being in our feminine energy, and I'm gonna use a pun here. Pun is intended. Getting beyond the busyness and sitting down and being intentional about creating your legacy and protecting your wealth. It's really not that deep. It's really not that hard. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't have anything. Actually, you do. If you have cash, money in the bank, jewelry, cars, property, 401ks, brokerage accounts, you do have something that you want to protect, right? Now, it's a possibility that you may spend it all. Leilani, what's up? Hey, sis. Hey, I'm so glad you are here. Oh, yes, Jen, Oh, let me show y'all my shirt. I love my shirt. I hope you can see it. It says minding my black owned business. I just want to show y'all my shirt. So I just had to show y'all because I love this shirt. My friend got it for me at InvestFest like 2 years ago. And so yeah, I love this is one of my favorite shirts. And yes, thank you, Jen. Yes, Natasha, this is so true. This is me. Whenever I'm working on a project, if the energy is not there, yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. It's very, but see, the thing is, when have we had that opportunity to really get out of our hustle mode and out of survival mode and into the feminine so that we can create, right? And that is so crucial. So let's see. Oh, okay. So going back to page 133, we were talking about how basically these families, they generate this wealth, but they're not educating their children on how to maintain the wealth. So he says without that education and with money going to several different children, and the inheritance may be spent quickly. The key to protecting your wealth across generations partly means protecting it from your own children. Absolutely. So the way when you design your trust, I helped my parents design their trust, and I explained like when we put the niece and nephew in, is that you can have stipulations and clauses that say that they cannot be on drugs, they have to be an upstanding citizen, have a job, et cetera, et cetera. You can actually be very specific on who gets the money, how they get the money, how old they need to be when they get the money, and what state of mind they need to be in to get the money. That is definitely something you could do when you create your trust. So it can be very customized to ensure that it lasts for multiple generations. And so, yes, it is traditional programming. Yeah, absolutely. It is traditional programming for hustle and grind. Yes, 100% agree. We had to learn, right? And, Tasha, my awesome wealth coach, talks about how sometimes it takes a man to teach you how to be feminine, right? Allowing a man to operate in his full masculinity so that you can rest in your femininity. I was like, ooh, Tasha. Yes. Oh, what happens to the money? Okay, so the money just stays. So this is a great question, Jen. The money just stays in the trust or however you designate it. They can designate it where it goes to a different person. They can keep it in the trust, pass it down to the next generation. You get to decide. Tasha Chin. Tasha Bat. That's what she always says. Okay. So let's wrap up on this note. I know we didn't get all the way to 145. This is a long chapter. So we may be able to finish it up next week. Because I wasn't going to go through every single page because a lot of it was also about, how athletes and entertainers waste their money. And I know we know about that. But on page 135, this is something that hit me hard. He said financial literacy isn't taught in public schools. And I know that there's an initiative here in New York for financial literacy to be taught in public schools. And I've I'm in talks with different sisters who are in that space. I used to work in the New York City Department of Education many years ago. And, navigating that and talking to them about supporting their financial literacy work as a philanthropist. But what he says here, which is so profound, is that if it were being taught to everyone, would we listen? Because your parents could be trying to teach you, or your teacher could be trying to teach you. But when you see culture that is consumerism stuffed down your throat, like our country is just very consumer driven. It's just like, get the car, get the jewelry, get this and that for status, right? You get these titles for status. Not everyone, I'm not making a general statement, but I'm just saying like, in some cases. So I'm very curious, like, let's just say financial literacy becomes mandated in New York City, which I think it may be, or is on its way to be something to that extent. How will it make an impact? And it's strategic that these things are not taught, right? Because right now we're in a retirement crisis in the US. People are not saving enough money. People are outliving their money. They're having to return to work. And people have their money in vehicles that were not even designed for retirement in the first place. And they don't even know it, right? We're all taught this herd mentality, do a 401k, do a 403b. But 401ks and 403bs were actually designed as a tax loophole for corporations. They're in the benefit of a corporation, not in our benefit. But people don't think that. And when I tell people that, they're like, what? They don't believe me. But if you Google it, you'll see. So I didn't make it up. But awesome, Doriel. This is great. Thanks for coming, Denise. Yes, this is great. This is how I teach my nephew too, Doriel. So I'm 100% aligned with that. Yep. I hope that they listen to Natasha. Because some parents don't know. Some parents don't know, so they can't teach their kids. Yes, well, you are most welcome. Everyone is welcome. So I'm going to wrap up here. So we're going to pick back up on 136 next week. Thank you all for coming. It was so great to have so many new folks on. I hope you come back next week. Feel free to grab the book. The link is on my link tree, Beyond the Busyness link tree. You can grab a copy of the book from the Black Financial Literacy Bookstore. And reach out to me if you need anything. But thank you all for coming. Thanks for being in the chat. This was so much fun to hear from so many of you. And I hope to see you next week. Thank you, Nana. Great to have you on. God bless you, everyone. Oh, is Dr. Boyce canceled? That's a great question. Let's see. I didn't get a reminder. Does anyone know? Oh, it's canceled. Okay. Well, then can y'all vote in the chat then? Do y'all want to finish up to 145 then? Since Dr. Boyce is not coming on? Because I know most of us go see Dr. Boyce because we're at 136. So I was just gonna do 136, 137, and then break down 144 and 145. Okay, so I'll just keep going. So and we'll wrap up so this way we stay on track. Okay, so let's go back to page 136. And basically he says most Black people have a very limited capital base. Typically our capital base starts with human capital, which is our free time and our labor. Hey, yay. And so remember, so if I don't know if you all know about the cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki created, right? And it's 4 quadrants. See, if I was a little more savvy, I could draw. I think I can do a whiteboard. Anyway, nope. Let me stop. Don't start messing with stuff I don't know how to do and didn't practice. Okay, so there's just picture a square, a line, and a line. Okay, the top box, upper left, is a employee. The bottom right underneath is self-employed. Top right is a business owner. Bottom right is an investor. And he says basically the way to financial freedom is on the right-hand side of the quadrant, right? You become a business owner, meaning that you have people work for you that can run your business for you. And then ultimately you can become an investor in businesses where you just make money off of their earnings, right? And so, you know, we're taught to exchange time for money. Nothing wrong with that. No shade, no judgment. But there comes a point when you cannot exchange time for money anymore. It could be a health related reason. You know, you're tired. You get as we get older. And so he said we end up renting our capital cheaply to large corporations who profit off of our time and energy. What if we use that same energy to create our own businesses, right? And then he says another capital base we typically obtain is the skills that come from education. So he basically says the more education you have, the more you can charge for your time. And then he says income from a job eventually wears down your human capital. So that's what I was saying. Like eventually, you get older, you're not trying to exchange time for money. And then you move over here to page 137. He's on the third paragraph. He says a man's ability to make his own decisions on a daily basis is typically connected to the strength of his capital base. And that is the truth, because think about it. Like when Dr. Boyce teaches us about options trading, and he's talking about people making $2,500 a week, 4 weeks in a month. That's $10,000 in a month by making some very strategic trades, right? Now, there is a gentleman in our community. He said he works 3 hours a week trading his options, and the rest of the time he lives. I was like, that is my goal. Talk about divine feminine energy. I will be floating, okay? If all I had to do was make some trades 3 hours a week, and then I'm living the rest of the. Anybody else? Anybody else got excited about that besides me? If I can make some trades for 3 hours a week, being strategic, of course, and then the rest of the time I'm living. What a concept! Anybody else? Hello? Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone, because I got real excited when he said that. I was like, mm-hmm. Yep, that's the kind of life that I want to live. Thank you so much. Not that I'm not going to do anything, but exactly, Cheryl. Yes, because I'm like, yeah, it is a dream life. I could just be a full-time philanthropist. Praise God. I could teach financial literacy in any place that I want to. So then he says the point here is simple. Your leading objective with the money you receive is to ensure that your children have a capital base. And if your parents didn't, if you didn't have parents that did this for you, you got to do it for yourself. So he recommends, if you saving 10%, paying 10% to the church, make sure you pay 10% to yourself, right? Minimally. Okay, listen, I know that's right, Denise. I'm telling you. So the next section, he talks about like why athletes and entertainers waste their money. But we're gonna move past that piece. I want to get deeper into pages one. Unless y'all have something you want to point out about it that you read. But I really want to get into page 144 and 145. That's like my heart. And this is where you talk about really protecting your capital. So he says, what are some methods of economic protection to ensure you don't lose your wealth? So this is starting on page 144. He says, having an estate plan is a must. So let me break down what an estate plan is. So I am not an attorney. Let me give that disclaimer. I partner with estate planning attorneys, and anybody who gets an estate plan through me is getting a discount. Okay. So exactly, Natasha. A portion of all I earn is mine to keep. That's right. And my mom said that her dad taught her that. He said, no matter how much money you make, he said, I don't care if you make $1, you save 10 cents. He was like, you never use all your money. My mom's an excellent saver. Now, I wish she had taught me that, but I had to read about it in a book. But I learned it. It's okay. So, having an estate plan is a must. And we break down an estate plan. So he talks about it on page 145. He says a trust. So let's break down a trust. A trust is, think of it as a person holding something. He says a trust is an entity similar to a human being, okay, that you can hand your assets to so that you don't have to hold them yourself. So Mia S. James, I don't own anything. Guess who owns it? My trust. You come for me, you're going to be real sad because I don't own anything. Now my trust does, but I own nothing. So when you set up a trust, well, with my attorneys, not all attorneys do it the same. We not only set up the trust where you can put your assets into it, because remember, not every asset that you have has a beneficiary attached to it. Think about it. Your home doesn't have a beneficiary attached to it. If you're in a common property state, that's not the right word, but in a state where it automatically goes to your spouse. But let's just say you're not married. Your house doesn't have a beneficiary. Your car doesn't have a beneficiary. Your jewelry, your heirlooms, anything that's of meaning to you doesn't have a beneficiary except accounts, right? You can have a beneficiary on, accounts. Commonwealth. Thank you, Terry. Hey, I'm so glad you could make it on. So, that's important for people to understand because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't need to worry about that. I don't have anybody to pass it to and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, no, not only I had a potential client. She didn't listen to me for whatever reason because she was the only child. She was like, "Oh, I'm automatically going to get the house from my father." Well, guess what? She can't do anything with the house because even though her father passed away, the house is still in his name. She's paying the mortgage, but she has no ownership rights because no paperwork was ever done. He's not alive. And so she has to go to court to now move it out of his name and prove that he's deceased. I'm like, but I had told her that this would happen, and now she's like, "What can you do?" I'm like, "I can't do anything now." I was like, "The attorneys can't. We can't do anything. The person has to be alive and in their right mind." So what a trust does is it allows you to move your assets while you're alive. So which in the beginning of your trust, it says, like my trust is in my maiden name. I, Mia Bradford, allow upon my death, I want X, Y, and Z to happen. That's the beginning statement, right? In addition to my assets being in there, I also have my will in there, which is my final wishes. A will can be written on a napkin. That's why I tell people a will is not really it's your wishes, but it still has to go to probate to be decided. So guess what? A judge will ultimately decide if you only have a will. And because it has to go through probate. But if you have a trust, you don't have to worry about probate. And then the other piece of a trust is the ancillary document. So this is like your medical directives, your power of attorneys, if you have minor children, guardianship papers, HIPAA statement, so that if someone needs to, if you're incapacitated and someone needs to access your medical records to get you care, because if you're not in a state to handle your finances, your medical needs, someone needs to be designated to do that. Then you need to have an executor of your trust, because you need to have somebody that you trust, that is going to do right with the assets and the funds that are in your trust. That's important. And you can hire a third party to be your executor if you don't have someone that you trust to do the right thing. They do have companies. I know a lady who does it. So there's ways. Yeah, no problem, Terry. I'm glad you could come on too. So the other beautiful thing about a trust, which Dr. Boyce talks about here, he says it's harder for others to track what you own. So I know yesterday, I think Constance Carter was on, and she was talking about she moved to a particular neighborhood and she couldn't figure out who lived in the neighborhood because all of the people their houses were in their trust. So if your house is in your trust, it's not public record who's the owner of your home. Because it's public. I can go look up who owns homes in my neighborhood because the people don't have trust. You look up mine. Well, I got one more step to do. There's one more step I have to do. So if you look me up, yes, because I had to go file it with the county clerk, and I don't live in my state, so I got one more step, and then it'll be in my trust. But as far as my county is concerned, my trust is the owner of my house. So let's see. He also says an added benefit of trust is that they have a large number of convenience and tax benefits in the event that you die. Tax benefits. Hello, can I get a whole witness? Yes, exactly. They are nosy, right? Yes, Natasha. Come on. This is what the wealthy people do. And it's not expensive. This is the thing. Back in the day when I was growing up, people used to say trust fund babies. And I'm just like, we will always think about people like, I'm from LA, so like Beverly Hills, Bel Air, people that live like out there, they all had trust funds. Well, guess what? My nieces and nephews have trust funds because they are the beneficiaries of my trust. So they're trust fund babies. No shame in that. Because guess what? I was like, they ain't going to have to take out a student loan. If they want to start a business, they're going to have some seed money, whatever it is they want to do, because I do not want them to be on the struggle bus. Now, they have to be responsible, but they are going to have that seed money. We're not starting from the bottom now. We here, no. We're going to be on the up and up on that generation. So then he also says the trust can have specific instructions that the trustee must follow in terms of how your assets are to be distributed. So a lot of attorney offices too, they will me too, Natasha, me too. Attorneys offices do have services where they can be the executor for your estate. And so that's basically what I wanted to go over tonight. So does anyone have any questions? Because a lot of people are wondering, how do you fund a trust? He might talk about it in here later on, but I'll give you a couple of ways. Again, y'all, this chat is hilarious today. I am loving all of it. I am here for all of this. But you can fund your trust through the current assets you have. You can also amend your trust. So let's say down the line you buy investment properties, you gain more assets. You can always add to the trust. It's not like a one and done type of thing. Also, whenever you have changes in your life, right? You get married, you get divorced, you have a baby, any major life event, that's when you want to change your trust or update it. I still need to add the baby. Like, I gotta get on top of it because I don't want him to be left out. So yeah. So Jen, do you have a question, or are you gonna adopt Natasha? All right, so does anybody oh yes, exactly, Denise. Yes. I know I want to be adopted too. Well, I have a story, but I can't tell it publicly. I was like, oh, I was almost a trust fund baby, and then someone came and took my place. I was like, oh, you want to adopt Natasha? I love it. That is so beautiful. If anyone wants me, take me, okay? I'm just kidding. So, does anyone have any questions though about that? Because it's not as scary as you think. It's really I know what I do for my clients. I give them a packet, like a handout with some questions. It's like a checklist type of thing, and it basically kind of prepares them to have the call with the attorney, and it just gives them some things to think about, and then potential questions to ask when they design their trust. No room for emergency. Listen, that is that's real right there, Denise. Low key. No room for emergency. What? You got to have that emergency fund in place. Well, if there's no questions, I hope this was helpful for y'all. Definitely, if you don't have your estate planning in place, I am happy to assist you. But if you have someone locally that you trust, definitely make sure you put that on your priority list before the end of the year. Because especially if you have assets and you have children, because if you have minor children, you want to make sure that, God forbid, something happens to you, that there's not a scramble of who's going to take care of them. Yes, I agree. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So if you all need an attorney, just reach out to me. So I'm happy to assist you with getting someone that I trust. I'm actually going to have a meeting with one of the attorneys tomorrow with a client. So, yes, excellent, Terry. I'll be ready for you. So I do also do insurance reviews. I help you to set up those policies that can help you leave a legacy. Because remember, your beneficiaries can get your death benefit tax-free. So that's like instant wealth, because 9 times out of 10, you're never going to put in more into an insurance policy than what your beneficiaries get out. And also, insurance policies have living benefits nowadays. So you can actually utilize your insurance policy while you're alive, like a bank. Like, you know how they say infinite banking, you can take loans from yourself, because a lot of us, we may not qualify for bank loans for businesses. But if you have a certain type of insurance policy, you can get a loan from yourself, and the beneficiary could be your trust. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. I hope this was helpful for you. And if there's any way I can assist you all with your journey, just let me know. Reach out to me. You can always text me at this number on the screen. Make sure to like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Love you all. And we're going to be on page 146 to continue the trust discussion. All right. And finish up commandment number 7. Love you all. Good night. Bye-bye. Thanks for coming.